Hi there. Welcome to the very first virtual tech conference from the South Asia MVP initiative. So today we're going to be having, this IT Pro track working with Flowcharts in Microsoft Office 2013. We have with us Geetesh Bajaj, who is a Microsoft PowerPoint MVP. He has been an MVP for close to 12 years. He has written close to 6 books. So here's about Geetesh Bajaj. So he's an MVP for over 12 years. He's kind of veteran to all of us, and he has authored 6 books on PowerPoint and Microsoft Office. He trains executives with his, create better, flowcharts and all those things. So here are some of the books that Geetesh have written. PowerPoint for Dummies. Pretty much he's the PowerPoint guru. So we are very, very happy to have him with us, and then take us through a lap around, how do you create flowcharts in Microsoft Office. So we hope this session is going to be kind of a very interesting session for you all, because flowchart and Microsoft Office, it's a completely different combination, but still Geetesh will let you know how to, marry both of them. So Geetesh, over to you. Good luck.
Thank you so much, Lohit, and thank you for the introduction. And as Lohit said, we are going to talk about creating flowcharts in Microsoft Office. Now, when we talk about Microsoft Office, we think about applications like Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, the main 3 applications. And we're going to show you techniques that would work in each of these applications. So it really doesn't matter if you like to use Word, or you want to use Excel, or you want to use PowerPoint. The techniques that we use are going to work in any of them. Having said so, we need to use something for the demo as an example. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use PowerPoint as my example, but any technique that I show you is going to work in Word and Excel too. Okay, so we're going to talk about what is a flowchart. And a flowchart is basically a sequence of steps at the very basic level. So definitely at a higher level it can be so much more, but at the basic level it's a sequence of steps recorded as a diagram, as a visual, which you can refer to later and follow the same steps in sequence, so that you go and do across a task that you have to do more frequently, more than once. That is repeated. So a flowchart is a reference point for that. So what you see on the slide that's presented to you at this point of time is a very, very basic flowchart. What we have there, we have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. There are 7 shapes over there. And you can identify these shapes over there which have the text within them, start and available, buy, stop, ask for Coke, ask for Pepsi, and so on and so forth. So let's actually go and look at the 2 shapes that start and stop the sequence. They're called start and they're called stop. You'll notice something very, very familiar about these 2. They are identical. They have an oval shape rather than you see a rectangular shape somewhere and you see a diamond shape somewhere. So why are these shapes different? That's also something we're going to learn later during this session. And before I get onto the session, I'm going to have a small poll for all of you, and you can tell me what type of flowchart you create. And also, if any of you have any questions about flowcharting in Word, Excel, or PowerPoint, you're welcome to bring up the question and answer panel. You have a Q&A option right at the top of the live meeting console over there, and go and click on that and type in your question over there, and Lohit here will monitor your questions and he will bring it to my attention, and we will take care and answer your questions. Okay? So without further ado, let me go ahead and get this poll across to all of you. So tell us, how many of you create and use flowcharts? Do you create them frequently or all the time, or just it's a one-time thing, or rarely, or you never create flowcharts? So Lohit, we just sort of wait for these poll results to trickle in.
Yeah, I think we can just give it maybe 10 more seconds, 15 more seconds.
Sure. At this point of time, I think we have a fairly equal amount of people who say they frequently use them and rarely use them and never use them. Okay. It really doesn't matter if you use them or you never use them or you frequently use them, because what we're going to teach you is going to be relevant to any of the audience's profiles. So I think I'll just get back to the slides now, Lohit.
Yep. Go ahead.
Okay. So this is a basic flow chart. If any of you have been doing coding, programming in the last 10, 15 years, and if you've been to a training institute and learned coding or programming from scratch, one of the first things that the training people do is ask you to draw a flow chart of your programming sequence. Now, flow charts definitely are not restricted only to programming. Anything in life is essentially what you can use a flow chart for. So let's move on. And the same question, similar to the poll we asked, have you flow charted before? But the answers here are different. We don't talk about frequently, rarely, and never here. We talk about yes and no at this point of time. And we look at, have you flow charted before? And there are practically reasons for yes and no. If you did computer programming, as I already said earlier, then you most certainly have done flow charting. Or if you create a lot of slides or documents or publications, magazines, newsletters that you need to share, or internal memos, so you essentially create a lot of workflows. And then what's better than a flow chart to show a workflow? So in that case, you already create flow charts. Or if you are required to create some in office, your boss tells you to create a flow chart. And you just have to find out a way to create one and show it to him or her. And for practically all other reasons, I'd say a lot of people probably don't use flow charts. But the fact is, you really don't have to stay away from flow charts because they can be very, very helpful. They're genuinely very useful, and we're going to look into how you go and create flow charts now. Okay, so what can flow charts actually do? Other than actually drawing on a piece of paper, that's perfectly okay too, or on a PowerPoint slide, or on a Word document, or an Excel sheet, or anywhere else. Flow charts need to have a reason to exist. Okay, because let's go and explain some of these reasons. So when you have a complicated, detailed process, and it's difficult to understand that and difficult to replicate that and save it for a reference for some time later, then what you could do is create a flow chart, and because it makes the whole process more comprehensible, more understandable. It also explains why a certain process works in that way, and also explains that when you come across a decision point where you have two options, yes or no, true or false, whatever, okay? So what do you do if one of those conditions are met? So you branch out in the flow chart and take the yes loop or the no loop and go there. It also visually takes and documents the process and saves it for posterity or something to refer to at a later date. It also allows you to analyze stuff. So it lets you analyze where you're going wrong, what you could do better, what you could do to get the cost down, what could you do to make it cost less, or what you could do to make it benefit you more. Because it's a visual representation and you can clearly see what's happening there. And it also helps you, if you're a coder or a programmer, it helps you to maintain and debug your code. Okay, so when did flowcharts start? I think the first flowchart probably started when a human being learned how to draw, because they could draw a sequence at that point of time. But as a documentation, as something that we represent a flowchart and identify as a flowchart, Frank Gilbreth created the first documented flowchart, which they call a flow process chart at that point of time in the year 1921, and that's a picture of Frank Gilbreth over there. Okay, so coming to the topic of our webinar session today is flowcharting inside the programs within Microsoft Office. So if you look at Microsoft Office, we're looking at programs such as Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, and they essentially include everything you need to create a wonderful flowchart. Okay? Okay, and pardon for the disturbance over there. And there are actually 28 distinct flowchart symbols right inside PowerPoint, Word, and Excel. And you can see these 28 representations on the screen at this point of time. These are basically familiar shapes like ovals, rectangles, rounded rectangles, diamonds, okay, our semicircles, triangles, and cylinders, and database stuff. And so all these symbols represent something or the other, okay? The most common symbols that most flowcharts have are just three, and those are processes, decisions, and terminators that we go and look in later in the session. But what if you want a really, really advanced flowcharting program, something that does much, much more than Word and Excel and PowerPoint do? In that case, Microsoft makes another program called Visio. A lot of people who create flowcharts are aware of that, and a lot of people really who too much into diagramming stuff beyond flowcharts and a lot of other stuff as well use Visio all the time. But for most of the times when you just want to create a basic simple flowchart or even something a little more detailed, Word, Excel, and PowerPoint is all you need. Okay, so we really won't get into Visio at this point of time. We'll only look at Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. This is the mainstream Office applications that are installed in almost every computer, and almost everybody has access to these applications. Okay, so remember the start and the stop symbols that I had showed you in the Coke and Pepsi flowchart earlier in the session, and those are called terminators. A terminator is any shape in a flowchart. Essentially, it's an oval shape that indicates the start of a process, that's the real start of the whole flowcharting process, and the end of the flowcharting process. Each of these steps is indicated by the terminator shape. Among the other shapes is a process. This is the most common shape that you'll see in almost any flowchart, any process, any action that you do is represented by a rectangle. And this rectangle in flowchart terminology is called a process. It's a task or an action, operation, whatever you call it. Also remember that what you see on the screen now is basically a blank rectangle, okay? Now, in this rectangle, it's not something you'll actually use in a flowchart. You'll have some text within that rectangle, or you'll have some text within the oval terminator that we saw earlier in the last slide. And then you have these decision shapes. Now, decision shapes are very useful when you have to take a decision, where you have to decide whether a decision is yes or no, true or false, or any of these logistic operators, okay? Either it's in the positive or the negative. You decide what you want to do about it at that point of time. So what happens in a decision shape is typically a diamond, as you can see on the slide now. You see, every diamond has got 4 corners. So one of the corners is where you get to the decision shapes to, from your earlier process shape, rectangle shape, you come to one of these corners. Then you have 3 remaining corners, and 2 of those corners emanate as yes and no sequences. So if your first answer is yes to that decision, you go to the direction of where the yes arrow takes you. If your answer is no, you go to the direction of where the no arrow takes you. And also there's a 4th point in a diamond, and that's very important that they have 4 points, because very rarely, sometimes, your decision may be maybe, okay? Yes, no, and maybe. Like how we had in the poll now, frequently, never, and rarely, okay? So you may have 3 decision points at that point of time. So you take the 3rd point of the diamond to move on to the maybe sequence. And I'll show you how you do that later in the session. Okay. We have looked at the 3 basic shapes of symbols in flowchart terminology. Now let's paraphrase them. First of all, a terminator, which is the start point and the end point of any flowchart, represented by an oval. The second part is a rectangle, which is a process, okay, as an action, as a task, or something that leads to a decision later on. And finally, a decision point, which is a diamond, which also has, as you can see on the slide here, one of the diamond's corners is already occupied by something that's leading from the start option, okay? So there has to be something that connects all these shapes together, and these things that connect all the shapes together, these are lines, and in flowchart terminology, these are called connectors. These link the various flowchart shapes, and what you have to always look for in the connector is there is one end of the connector which has got an arrow, and one on the end of the connector which doesn't have an arrow. So what actually happens here is the direction of the arrow lets you know the direction of your workflow. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, and most of the session now, is I'm going to do a small demo for you all and show you how you can start and create a flowchart from scratch within Office, Microsoft Office 2013. Essentially, the steps that I'm going to do now work the same way in Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. And they also work the same way in Word, Excel, and PowerPoint 2013, Word, Excel, and PowerPoint 2010, and Word, Excel, and PowerPoint 2007. So essentially, it really doesn't matter whichever version of the program you're using, as long as you're using a fairly recent version of Office, Microsoft Office, then you can actually follow all the steps that I'm going to show you next. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, 1 second, give me a moment here, and as I move on to share my presentation with you. Okay, now that the screen has changed, can all of you all see what I'm seeing here? Lois, can you? Thank you so much, Lois. So essentially, we have a blank slide here, and this shows the Home tab. Since I want to make sure that whatever I'm going to show you works the same way in Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, I am not going to take the Shapes gallery that you can see in the Home tab in PowerPoint. Rather, I'll go to the Insert tab of the ribbon. Okay. Within the Insert tab, you see this button called Shapes. Now, this is exactly the same position in Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. So it really doesn't matter whichever program you use. You just go to the Insert tab of the ribbon, and then you click the Shapes button. Clicking the Shapes button brings up this Shapes gallery. It's a drop-down gallery. And there are like around 200 shapes over there, but all of them are not suitable for flowcharts. So what you see here is all these shapes are divided into categories. So you have lines, rectangles, basic shapes, block arrows, equation shapes, flowchart. Now you notice there's a whole category of shapes called flowchart. Within the flowchart category, you have all of 28 shapes. So you just go and hover your mouse cursor on top of any of them, and you see a tooltip, as you see on the screen probably now, and it says flowchart process. So this is exactly the same rectangle shape that we talked about earlier. Move on to the next shape, and it says, it's an alternate process. This is not exactly the oval that we start for the Terminator shape. To get to the oval for the Terminator shape, this is the one. Okay, so do you see the tooltip says Terminator over there? Okay, so although you may sort of say that this is an oval, and this is a rectangle, and this is a diamond shape, or this is a triangle, but in flowchart terminology, nobody says you put an oval shape. They say you put a Terminator shape to start it. So I'm going to take this Terminator shape. I could just click it one time, and what's going to do is going to place an instance of that. The other way, what I can do is I can delete it, and go back to the Insert tab, get onto Shapes again, and choose the Terminator shape again, and I can drag it and draw it to place a Terminator shape with the size of the width and the height that I want. Okay, I think this is good enough for now. So I'm just going to choose something like that and pull it up over there. Now, for any flowchart start option, you need to have some text over there. How do you quickly go and add some text to your flowchart shape? A lot of people will tell you just go and right-click the shape and say edit text and choose some other option. But trust me, the easiest thing possible to add text to any shape in any Office program, Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, is to just select the shape and start typing, as I have done over here. So I just select the shape and start typing, and the text comes right within the shape over there. Okay, so at this point of time, we have created and established a start point for our flowchart. At any point of time, if any of you have any questions, feel free to go ahead and ask them, and Lois will bring it across to my attention. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go again, Shapes, and choose a decision point. The decision point, as you are all aware, is a diamond shape, which is identified with the third shape that you see over here. It says flowchart decision. I'm just going to click on that and select here and drag it across till I have it as big as I want it to be. I think that should be good enough. Okay, and I'm going to place it here. And I'm going to type some text here. Maybe I'll just go and say, are you happy? No reason for you not to be happy, and I'm sure you're all happy, but I just need to type something there. Okay, so I have got a Terminator shape to start, and I have another shape to continue that. So now I want to, for every decision shape, you need to have at least 2 outputs and 1 input. And we haven't actually put any connectors as of now. The connectors, where do you find them? Okay, so you just go to the Insert tab again, and choose Shapes option to bring up our Shapes gallery. And right in the Shapes gallery, you see this section called Lines. Now these lines, typically when I just take this arrow option here and drag it and draw it in another part of the slide, this just works like a regular line. It's not a connector. But I go again and choose Shapes and take that same arrow option, and when I get it close to my flowchart shape, you'll notice that it sort of gets magnetic, okay? You can see those 4 handles that come across on the top, bottom, left, and right of the start terminator shape, okay? So do you all see that? So what I'm going to do now is take my cursor close enough to the bottom part, and you will notice that it sort of magnetically gets connected to that. So I'm going to go and drag it from there and drag it downwards to the point of the Are You Happy decision box. As you can see, the magnetic connectors show as soon as I get close to that. I'm going to drop it here, and what you will notice at this point of time is my connector has got green handles on either end of the connector. On the other hand, if I just go and select a regular line, you'll see it's got white handles on both the ends. But this one doesn't have white handles, it has green. Indicates that this particular line is a connector. It connects 2 shapes. So you will ask me, how is the connector different from a normal line? Let me show that to you. So if I take this particular decision shape and drag it around, notice that the line always redraws itself, so that the further I take it, the further the line draws itself. So this, and if I go and get this one ahead, you'll notice they always stay connected. And if I select the line itself, you will see that it always has those green edges on either ends. So what I'm going to do is, since I've shown you the difference between a connector and a shape, a connector and a regular line, sorry, I'm going to select that line here and delete it because we no longer need it. And let's get back our start shape here. Our Are You Happy decision shape over here. You can notice the connector still has green ends. At this point of time, let's go and add a third symbol, a third flowchart symbol, which is a process symbol. So we can go back to Insert, Shapes. But you know something? I have told you, you can always go back to the Insert tab of the ribbon and get to Shapes in Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. Since I'm doing it in PowerPoint and my shape gallery is right there in the Home tab, I'm just going to take it from there, from this point onwards. And if you're working in Word and Excel, you just have to go to the Insert tab instead. So I choose the flowchart option again, and this time I choose Process. And I'm going to draw a process shape here. Okay, and that's good. I'm just probably going to move it a little rightwards. Far too much. Yeah, that should work. So let's say this is what happens when someone says, yes, I am happy. So we'll say, very good. Have a great day. Let me put an exclamation there. So I need to connect these 2 shapes together. So I'm going to go back to Lines and choose my one-sided arrow. The moment I come here, you can see these magnetic handles come up, and I'm going to drag it here and drop it there. This is how you have. So start, Are You Happy? Very good. Have a great day. This is for yes. What do we do for no? What I want to do is I want to just duplicate this one again. And how do I duplicate it? How do you duplicate a shape in a second? Duplicate a shape in Word, Excel, or PowerPoint. It's fairly simple. I could just select the shape and say Control-C, the keyboard shortcut for copy, and Control-V, the keyboard shortcut for paste. But you know, there is a simpler way to do that. All I have to do is select the shape I want to duplicate and press Control-D. That's exactly what I'm doing now. I'm pressing Control+D, and I end up duplicating that shape. Okay? So I'm going to move the shape to where I want it to be there, and probably I'm just going to go and drag it down. Yeah, that should be good. There we go. And I also need to have a connector that gets these two together. Yeah. Two green handles means it's a connector, it's not a line. We have done this, but this is the yes point and this is the no point, and we are going to get to that later in the time, how you're going to go and work on and get the yes and no handle over there. For now, let's do the yes and no captions right at the end. Let's go and just make up the whole flowchart now. Okay, so I want to duplicate this as well. So as you know, it's very easy to duplicate. Why do I want to duplicate? Because I want my one rectangle and the second rectangle to be the same size, the same width and the same height, so it looks good. Rather than get the attributes and draw it again, the easiest way is to duplicate this and change the text as required. So as you know, the key to duplicate is the shortcut keyboard shortcut is Control-D. That's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to drag it down. Do you notice these red color handles that come over there and these lines that you see? This is new in PowerPoint 2013. It sort of allows me to, position my stuff exactly how I want. So at this point of time, you can see that my new shape is actually very well aligned to the top shape and also to the left shape. And I don't have to go and align it properly. It's all taken care of. This is something that's only new for 2013. It doesn't really work in 2010 and 2007 in the same way. But everything else works in the older versions too. So I'm going to add another connector here. Take it here. Done. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. Done. Okay. So we still have to change the text. So we say, are you happy now? And over there, very good. Then you are. Be happy. Good for them. Sorry about that. So now we've done there. There's still two more shapes that we need to draw to complete our flowchart. So what I want to do is actually want to have a terminator. I want to have a stop terminator here. So I'm duplicating the start shape. Let me take it and drag it somewhere here. Oh, this is wonderful indication of the smart guide over there. You can see the two red dashed lines at the bottom over there that indicate that the distance between the first and the second shape is the same as the distance between the second and the third shape. So there we go. Only thing is I have to go and change it here. So I'm going to say stop. And draw another connector. Two ends are green. That means it's perfect. So we have a stop here. What about the people who need a decision point here? So I'm going to need another shape here. I'm just going to Control-D that one. I'm going to leave it here. I really love these indicators. Okay, so these guys need to start all over again. And I need to connect this end to this one. So what I'm going to do is, this is not a straight line. Can you see the are you happy now decision point at the bottom left and the gosh start all over again process on the bottom right are not in the straight line because there's another shape in between them. I could actually go and draw a line from here to here, but it wouldn't look great. So what I'm going to do is, I'm not going to take a straight arrow connector. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to take an elbow connector, an elbow arrow connector that you can see as a tooltip on the top there. Click on that and start here. Perfect. And I'm going to go from here to this exact point. So I'm connected them with an elbow connector. Do you see the yellow handle over there? I can select it and drag it down. Okay, so that gives it a little more breathing space. So we've got this happen. Gosh, start all over again. So let's look at the process, how it's going to work. Start. Are you happy? If you said yes, very good. Have a great day, and stop. If you said no, you say, are you happy now? If you say yes, very good, then you're already happy. And you have to go to stop. I think this one is out of place there. But if you said no, this is gosh, start all over again. So we still need to have connectors between very good, then you're already happy, and stop. And gosh, start all over again and start. So again, as you guessed, this will be elbow connectors because they're not really straight lines. I'm going to take this one, and place it here. The thing is, what's happened here is the elbow connector is going beyond this one, and I can't even see the yellow handle there. Luckily, what I can do is I can select this one and drag this out there. So now when I select it, I can see that probably I could just go and leave this here. That works very well enough. So I'm going to leave this here, and I'm going to click the elbow connector again, cut from here, and go and merge it back to the start one. So there you have a complete thing done. We still need the captions over here. So, Lohit, do we have any questions here?
So far, none, Geetesh.
Okay, sure. So we do have some questions already lined up. So if you need anything at that point of time, just feel free to get those across to me. Okay. So I have this thing done here. What I'm going to do is, I think these are too close. So I'm going to select these three over here. Just select them and take the down arrow key on my keyboard and push them down. And that's good. And now I'm going to select the other three down, pull them down. Can you see the magical part? The connectors are just going and rerouting themselves automatically without us having to do anything. There you go. At this point of time, we need to add the captions. So captions are, what are captions? Captions are essentially nothing but text boxes. So if you are in Word, Excel or PowerPoint, just go to the Insert tab, go to Shapes, and you see this option over there called the text box. So you just go to select the text box option. It's also available in the basic shapes category. And then just go and click it once to place a text box. So we're going to type in yes over here. And I quite like that yes part. It can stay here. So this is a yes action. Select this one. Let me show you a shortcut key for a shortcut option for duplicating any content in Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, as long as you can select as a shape or a text box. So I've already shown you how you can do Control D and get it down there. At this point of time, I'm going to select this box and I'm going to hold the Control key, and I'm also going to hold the Shift key. So notice that I've selected the box and I have put a Control and the Shift key, both I have pressed it down, and I'm going to select those two and drag it down. So what it's going to do is going to make a duplicate of that. So exactly in a straight line, and I got that yes over there. Okay, I think Lohit has got a question for me. Lohit, do you want to go ahead and tell me the question?
Yeah, the question is, can I use the flowchart created in Visio within my Word or, maybe the Office?
Mm-hmm. Yes, you can. So let me get back to this question soon after I've done with showing you how to put these captions. Okay?
Sure.
So now we have yes and no over here, yes 2 times. So we also need 2 no captions. Since I already have 2 yes captions, I'm again going to select both of them, press both the Control and the Shift keys, and I'm going to drag it across and duplicate them. There you go. So I have 4 yes ones, but I need only 2. So I'm going to select these 2. And 1 second. Push them down until they are quite close to what I want them to be. Yes. And I can just go and replace the word with no over there. Now, this is completely optional if you want to do so or not. But what you could do is when you select any of these boxes, you notice this rotation handle on the top. I can actually go and select it and drag it leftwards or rightwards to rotate counterclockwise or clockwise, whatever you want to do. But there's a small tip here. If you hold the Shift key when you actually rotate it, so you actually rotate it at 16-degree increments. So I press the Shift key and I drag it leftwards, 15, 30, 45, 60, 75, 90. So I get an exact 90 degrees over there without having to worry too much about how much my increments are. I'll repeat that same process for the no text box below. I'm going to press the Shift key, 15, 30, 5, 60, 55, and 90. Okay? And these steps work also in Word and Excel. not only in PowerPoint. So we have a yes and no options over there. The only thing I think I can do really to improve this, I find the lines are too thin. If the lines were thicker, they would be more clearly visible. And not only that, the thicker lines would also have the arrowheads looking thicker. So let's do that. Rather than do it one at a time, let's go and select one line, press the shift key, press the second line, third line. I have the shift key pressed all the while so that I can select multiple connectors and lines here. Okay, so we have them all selected. I'm just going to go here, and in the Home tab itself, I have this option called Shape Outline. From that, and you have an option called Weight. I think I'm just going to take a thicker option, maybe points. Okay, there you go. It looks so much thicker. So now we all follow the sequence here. Let's say start. Are you happy? Yes. Then in that case, you go to the process on the right. Very good. Have a great day and stop. Okay, so we reach from start to stop. If you said no for the first are you happy decision option, then we say are you happy now? If you said yes over there, very good, then you're already happy and you go to stop. In case you said no, we will take you to gosh, start all over again, and again we get you back to start. So that option is essentially doesn't go to the stop option, it's a loop over there. Okay, so this is how you would work on that. You can really go and do anything you want with all this stuff. It's fairly advanced, and have an option to do it in Word, Excel, or PowerPoint. It also depends on which program you're using. Okay, so essentially if you're using Word, then again you are limited to the page size. So how much content, if it's a very complicated flowchart, then you really probably don't be able to fit everything inside that Word document. The same is true for PowerPoint. But if you are doing in PowerPoint and you want to spread the flowchart, same flowchart over multiple slides, so maybe, okay, you come to one decision point from the continued on slide number 3 or slide number 4, and you can continue it over there. In Excel, you don't have any such limitation because Excel is huge. You have lots of place to go and put across all the content that you want. So if you have really complicated flowcharts, you do it in Excel. But if you want to go and show it in the presentation to someone, then definitely you do it in PowerPoint. On the other hand, if you are comfortable with doing it in Word, then you do it in Word. Or if you have something pretty advanced, which is beyond the scope of what we do over here, okay, because Visio has lots and lots of options. The way that I had to go and put yes and no text boxes over here, I wouldn't have to do that in Visio because it does it automatically for me. And that brings us to the question that Lois put earlier, and someone asked us that, what do I do if I already have content in Visio? Can I get my Visio content in PowerPoint? Now the thing is, if you already have a Visio flowchart created, okay, and it's no sense asking you to go and make it all over again in PowerPoint, Word, or Excel. The format is a little different, but all you can do is get into Visio, open your flowchart over there, and choose an export option or the save as option over there, whatever you see over there, and export it to an EMF file, that is enhanced meta file. That's one of the options available over there. Okay, and or alternatively, what you can do, you can copy it from Visio, okay, and then in Word, Excel, or PowerPoint, you go and choose a paste special option. The moment you choose a paste special option, and I really can't show that to you here because I don't have Visio installed on this computer, and if you choose a paste special option in Word, Excel, or PowerPoint, you get an option over there, paste as an EMF. So choose the paste as an EMF option and then get your content from Visio into PowerPoint. At that point of time, it's no longer a Visio object actually. It's something that is converted from Visio to an EMF and put in Word, Excel, or PowerPoint. But the fact is you have a fairly complete flowchart already in place. So there's no sense going and reinventing the wheel and creating a flowchart again from scratch if you already have one.
Geetesh, we have one more question.
Please go ahead.
If we are doing flowchart in PowerPoint like this, and if it's a complicated flowchart, what if it does not fit in one slide or even in one page, like basically one slide? So how can we, kind of take it forward? Or how do you do in such nature?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. I already explained a bit about that earlier a few minutes ago, but I will get into more detail and probably also give you a solution for that now. So what you do is if it's in Word, you really can't do that. In Excel, you really don't run into that limitation because Excel is huge. But the really question and the question that the questioner has asked me about is essentially about PowerPoint. So let's imagine that we have a flow chart which is pretty complicated and does not fit into one PowerPoint slide. Let's just, for the sake of example, I'm going to use this Bosch start all over again, and I don't want to send them to the start again option, so I'm going to delete that connector, but I want them to go somewhere else, maybe to the next slide. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new slide over here. To add a new slide, I can use the Control M keyboard shortcut, and I've added a new slide over there. Okay, so I say flowchart, continued from it's continued from a previous slide. Maybe I just need to put the ellipsis in the beginning because it's continued from somewhere. At this point of time, I can actually go and draw my flowchart. I'm just going to go and draw a very, very basic quick flowchart here. Maybe I'm just going to put something here, and I'm going to put a decision point here. And I'm going to connect it. So let's, for the sake of argument, let's assume that this is a second part of that flowchart. So all you do is, you go and select your Bosch start all over again flowchart shape, and then you press the Control K. Control K stands for hyperlink. The Control K keyboard shortcut and press that. Okay. So you go and say place in this document. You get this insert hyperlink dialog box. You say place in the document and the next slide that you have. Now I have 2 slides, but you may have 50 or 100. It doesn't matter. You go and choose a slide number over here where you want it to continue and click OK. You also need to put an indication here that it goes to another slide. Gosh, start all over again. It's a hyperlink. I'm just going to put an indication there. So what's going to happen is, I don't know if I go and play this presentation, it'll play for you on live meeting console. So Lohit, I'm going to just go ahead and play it. Let me know if it works over there, or maybe I can just go and play it in quarter screen. 1 second.
Yeah.
Okay, do you see the quarter screen mode showing up over there?
Yes, I can see that. Yeah, it's on top, like a quarter. Yeah.
Top left quarter. Okay. So, so basically you just go and click on this. The moment you click on this, it's going to take you to the next slide over there, and you can continue your process there. And you can have a fairly complicated flowchart sequence, and if you want to move in from one end to yet another slide, you can still do that. Essentially, what you will also want to do is you will want to put a link from the first shape on that slide back to the original slide also, so that you can go back and forth between slides and hyperlinks over there. Is that clear?
Yep. I think, now we understand how you do this.
Sure. So, that's how you would do that. Do we have any other questions coming up, Lohit, here?
Not at the moment. I think these two
No
were
problem. So do we all wonder how did I get that quarter screen slideshow over there?
I'm wondering, yes.
Okay, so that's pretty simple. What you would do, I'm using PowerPoint 2013 at this point of time. So the keyboard shortcuts have changed a little. So what you would do is, do you see this slideshow icon right at the bottom right over there? You would press the Alt key on your keyboard, and then you go over and press this. Pressing Alt, clicking on that option gets a quarter screen mode over there. So this is pretty good if you have to compare stuff. You have one slide showing in the background and one slide showing in the foreground. So it's great when presentation designers are creating slides and they want to see what's in the current slide and what was in the previous slide, and they can compare them both at the same time. But the Alt and clicking does not work in 2010 and 7. For that, you have to go and shift or control click it and get that option over there. Okay, so that's how it is. So that's how you play with flowcharts. Beyond flowcharts, there are lots of, I'm sure a lot of you want to learn about what are the other type of flowcharting options available. So what you can actually do is, I run this website called indesign.com, indezine.com, and I'll try and show you the site and where you can actually get help on flowcharts over there. Just give me a moment. I essentially went and worked with the Microsoft Office team for Word, Excel, and PowerPoint and created the tutorials that come up in Office 2013 that show you how you work with flowcharts. So if you are working in Word, Excel, and PowerPoint and you search for flowchart in the help, they actually get you the InDesign site, and those are cataloged over there. So just give me a moment. So let me see if I can share this part of the screen with all of you. Okay. Lohit, do you all see a website?
Yes, the web page is
Oh,
shown.
yeah. So this is the InDesign.com website, and you have this option called Flowcharts in Microsoft Office. This whole series of flowchart tutorials was created for the Office team, and the third tutorial over there, flowcharts, what they represent, is something that will explain to you not only what the three symbols that I worked on, process, decision, and terminator, right here. But it also goes into all the other 25 variations over there, and you can go and find out what each of them represents. And if you're serious about flowcharting, I would highly recommend that you go and get this information and learn how you can, work more with flowcharts. You can see there's a whole lot of significance for each of these. I'll get back here. And there's also a tutorial on how you can connect flowcharts and connector shapes together, what you can do with the connectors themselves, how you can make them thicker, like how we did a while ago, okay? So how do you make them thicker? It's the same flowchart over here. You get them here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get you back to PowerPoint, what I was working on here. Okay. Oh, that's, do you see the live meeting console now?
Yeah, your slides are back.
We are back here. Okay, I think that's what we have for now, Lohit. If there's anybody else who wants to ask a question, now's the time to go in for that, or we could go and move ahead with the rest of the content.
Yeah, I have one question here. I'm not sure. I know this, but the question is swim lanes. Are swim lanes supported in flowcharts you create in Office applications?
Okay, now the question is what is exactly a swim lane? When you go and see a swimming championship over there, if you go and see go to the pool over there, what you see, there's a lanes over there for the swimming. Okay, so every participant is actually supposed to swim only in their lane and not go to another lane. So basically, you can actually, with flowcharts, you can have swim lanes. So how you put across the swim lanes is something that is totally supported in Visio. If there's something really advanced like swim lanes or stuff that you want to do, I would highly recommend that you really look at Visio because it's a great tool to create advanced flowcharts. Okay, Lohit.
Okay.
So I'm moving on next, and this is exactly the flowchart that we created a while ago. And we're done with the Q&As, and that's about me. That's my Twitter handle, and that's my website. If anybody wants to get in touch, you are welcome to get across. And I think that's really what we have for today, Lohit. And thank you so much for working with me on this one. And can I get this over to you?
Yep. Thank you very much, Geetesh. I think this was a very good insight as to how we can use flowcharts in PowerPoint. So I still see a couple of people hanging around. So if you guys have any questions, please use your Q&A panel. Just log the question. Geetesh and both myself and Geetesh will be able to see the questions, and we'll try to take it, as and when the questions arrive. We'll still be here. Geetesh is done with his presentation, but we'll still stick around for maybe 5 more minutes or 10 more minutes if there's any questions. Otherwise, we'll end up the session now. I'll stop recording for now. Thank you very much to Geetesh and all the people who have joined in. I'll stop recording and we'll be still here.
Perfect.